Quick note before we start. Nothing on this channel is financial advice. I'm an analyst and a builder. Mantis is a cycle analysis tool. What you do with your own money is your decision, not mine. Right then, 0.21. It's not a lot of money. Let's be honest about that from the start. At today's prices, it's a decent second-hand car. Not a house. Not a pension. A car. So why have I built an entire piece of software around that one number? Because 0.21 isn't a price. It's a seat. And there are only so many of them. Stay with me. This one isn't about charts. 21 million Bitcoin. That's the whole thing. Ever. Divide 21 million by 0.21 and you get 100 million. 100 million seats. That is the absolute ceiling. The maximum number of human beings who can ever hold what you're holding if every single coin were evenly handed out, and none had ever been lost, and plenty have been lost. So the real number is smaller, meaningfully smaller. 8 billion people on the planet, 100 million seats at the absolute most. Now, I'm not going to stand here and tell you that makes you special. It doesn't. It makes you early. Those are different things, and the difference matters. Early is not a personality. Early is a decision you made and then had to keep making. Here's the bit nobody puts on a mug. Getting to 0.21 is not hard because the maths is hard. The maths is trivial. It's hard because of when you have to do it. You have to buy when the chart looks broken. You have to buy when the timeline is telling you it's over, when the accounts you follow have gone quiet, when the people who were loudest at the top have suddenly discovered other interests. Discipline isn't buying. Anyone can buy. Discipline is buying the thing that's currently hurting you. And vision. Vision isn't predicting the price. I can't predict the price. Nobody can predict the price. And the ones who tell you they can are selling you something. Vision is being able to hold two ideas at once. This is down 40%, and this is exactly where it's supposed to be. Both true, same moment. That's the actual skill, not analysis. Tolerance. Now, there's a phrase that gets thrown around, and I want to handle it properly because it usually gets handled badly. People talk about NPCs, non-player characters, the ones going through the motions, doing what everyone else does, never questioning the setting. And look, and I understand the appeal of that word. When you've spent 4 years being told you're mad, there's a temptation to hand it straight back. I'd rather not. Here's why. Most people aren't asleep. Most people are busy. They've got a job that takes everything, kids that take the rest, and a financial system that has spent their entire adult life being deliberately difficult to understand. That's not stupidity. That's a full life and a rigged instruction manual. The difference between them and you isn't intelligence. It's that at some point you got curious and then you did the far harder thing, which is that you stayed curious after it stopped being fun. Now that's the whole gap. Curiosity, then persistence. So no. 0.21 doesn't prove you're smarter than anyone. It proves you kept going when it would have been easier, cheaper, and much more socially comfortable to stop. I'll take that over clever any day of the week. Here's what I find genuinely funny about the last couple of years. The institutions arrived, the corporates arrived, government started quietly holding it rather than threatening to ban it, and they're all doing the same thing you're doing. Accumulating a fixed supply asset over time, through the dips on a schedule, with a horizon measured in cycles rather than weeks. The strategy is identical. The only differences are the size of the position and the fact that you got there first. That's worth sitting with. You are not following the smart money into this trade. On the timeline that matters, the smart money is following you. Though let's be straight about the asymmetry, because I don't want to oversell this. They're doing it with better terms, better desks, and considerably more of it than you or I will ever put in. Being early isn't a superpower. It doesn't make you their equal. It's simply the one edge that was ever actually available to us. And unlike theirs, it came with a closing date. Right, the mission, and then the part that actually matters. The plan on this channel has never been to accumulate 0.21 and stop. The plan is 0.21 into one whole coin across 2 cycles, accumulate at the bottom, compound through the top, come out the other side a Wholecoiner. That's the arc. Here's how it's actually going. On the 12th of June, Mantis said deploy. So we deployed. First tranche in, published before the outcome existed. On the record. Timestamped, no takebacks. And I'm deliberately not going to tell you what we paid. Not because it's a secret, it's on the channel with a date on it. Go and look. But because the number we got is the least interesting thing about that day. And quoting it invites exactly the wrong conversation. I have never tried to catch the bottom. Not once. Mantis isn't built to find the lowest print. It's built to get a good entry near it, on a defined signal, without me having to be brave on the day. The price on any given Tuesday was never the test. The test was whether we'd actually do it. The signal fired in the middle of a market that felt awful. Nothing about that week made you want to spend money. And the whole reason for building the thing is that on days like that, I don't trust my own judgment. I trust the rule I wrote down when I was calm. Mantis said go, we went. That's it. That's the entire discipline, and it is much less glamorous than people expect. The second tranche, waiting to be told again. So where's the rest of the money? Half the bag is still dry, and I'm not deploying it until Mantis tells me to. Same deal as last time. And look, there's a reason the thing is called what it's called. A mantis doesn't chase. It doesn't scurry about looking for opportunities. It sits completely still for as long as it takes, looking like part of the scenery. And then it strikes once and it doesn't miss. That's not a cute bit of branding. That is the entire strategy. The waiting isn't the boring part before the interesting part. The waiting is the strategy. The strike is just the moment it pays out. Most people have that backwards. They think the skill is in the buying. The skill is in the not buying for months while nothing happens and everyone else is busy. It's watching for one of two things. Either Bitcoin pukes, falls 15% below where that first tranche went in, and if that happens, the second tranche fires immediately and waits for nothing. Or we get the next weekly cycle low, which currently projects into January and early February. 2 doors. I don't get to choose which one opens, and that's the least satisfying sentence in this video, so let me say it plainly. I can't tell you which trigger fires. What I can tell you is that both are defined, both are written down, and neither of them is when it feels right. That's the entire difference between a plan and a mood. The other 3 haven't fired a shot, and that's only one of 4. BTC hodl is the bedrock. Spot Bitcoin, bought at the bottom, held through, no cleverness. BTC swing trader works the bigger moves inside the cycle to end up with more coins than it started with. Coin tortoise steps out into a Bitcoin-linked equity and accumulates patiently, then feeds the result back toward the coin count. And the MSTR hare is the wild card. One shot, no second bite, built to catch a parabola when the cycle turns hard in our favor. 3 of those 4 have not fired a single shot. They're loaded, waiting on their own signals, and they'll go the same way the first one did, not when I fancy it, when they're told. What the rehearsal says, and what it's worth now, I've run all 4 back through the last cycle. 2022 to 2026, 0.84 Bitcoin becomes 4.677, and before anyone gets excited, let me take that number apart myself. That is a backtest. I built those rules knowing how the story ended. Every trigger, every exit, designed by someone who had already seen the chart. That is not a small caveat, that is the whole caveat, and anyone showing you a backtest without it is showing you a magic trick. A backtest is a rehearsal. It is not a performance, which is why the only entry on this channel that will ever really count is the one with a timestamp on it. Right now that's one tranche fired in June on a signal published before anyone knew how it would look. One real receipt beats a beautiful rehearsal every time. Anyone can run a channel where the calls are always right. You simply don't publish the other ones. What I'd rather have is a channel where the calls are time-stamped and you can go back and check. So discipline isn't being right. Discipline is doing what the plan said on the day it said it and putting it in public before you know how it ends. 3 more still to fire. Same rule each time. So, 0.21. It's a second-hand car today. It's a seat that 100 million people can hold at the absolute maximum forever on a planet of 8 billion. It doesn't make you special, it makes you early, and it means you did a hard thing repeatedly when the world was telling you not to. The 4-year window opens this summer and runs into March. Optimal zone, late October. When it fires, it'll be on this channel before the result exists. Same as the last one, right or wrong. Until then, we do the difficult bit. We sit still, we wait to be told, and when we're told, we strike, once, properly, with the money we spent all those quiet months not spending. Stick to the plan.